volume. We've got it. And we are already ready to begin. Perfect. Very, very well. Let's go ahead and scoot up a little bit. That's fine. Shabbat Shalom, my most appreciated friends, honorable judges, LVE tribe, as well as everyone listening. On this so precious day of Shabbat, cloudy, kinda warm, not so cold, but the temperature did drop. From California, the US of A, today is Shabbat, the 7th of Ziv, or Ishar, the second month of the year 5992. And that already was erased. I'll correct it. May 27 of the year 2023. Leslie, can you please write 23 there, please, for me, if you would? It got erased. 2023. This was here. Very late. Precious. 2023. Thank you, Les. And we shall study yet another chapter of Revelation 17, part 32. We are studying Seals, Trumpets, and Plagues, part 5. Last Shabbat was part 4. We did not speak about the 7 seals, nor the 7 trumpets, nor the 7 plagues, but we did speak about something which, rather, for many, it's either sealed, it's a seal that they have to open, it's a trumpet, or a great plague, which is the tides. But today we shall speak about what we continue, and we've been studying about the seals, trumpets, and the plagues. We're in the countdown of the Omer. Today is the last day of the 3rd week. Week 3, day 21. Tomorrow we'll switch onto the next week, and day 22. Tomorrow, when the sun goes down, is what I'm referring to, which becomes Sunday. Today also, well, we'll talk about that later. Without any further ado, we shall seek our Elohim. Beloved Yahweh, we give you thanks for this so precious Shabbat. We give you thanks because we have life, and because we can understand the marvelous truths that are in your truths, and also what happens around us. I ask that your spirit can fill each and every one of us, and that actually we can spend this time, that it go quick until you dispose of, that it's the precise time, in your precious name, Yahweh, our husband. Alleluia. The Lord has blessed with one more year of life the following members of the Eternal Truth: Hoxan Vicente Santiago, Mexico; Kaylee Andrielis Rodriguez Sanchez, the Dominican Republic; Hilar Mena, Peru; Jose Antonio Montes Moreno, Mexico; Alexander Moreno Ciraldo, the US of A; Jaylene Roja Lora, the Dominican Republic; Isaiah Ogando, the Dominican Republic; Mayeli Molina Lopez, Guatemala; Gloria Noemi Casillas Aceves, Mexico; Edwin Neida, Chile; Daniel Hernandez Marin, Mexico; Rosiane David, Brazil; and Carolina Rojas, Venezuela. To each and every one of you, and those of you that I did not mention because you're not on my list, a very happy birthday to you, a great big hug. May it be the last one that you have under the Babylonian system in this world. And I'd like to give the welcome to a new member of the Eternal Truth, which has been mentioned and has this name that's so particular: Aliyah Chantal Herrera Sandoval. Her dad, Jesus Herrera and Astrid Sandoval in Chile, have had the privilege of now becoming dads for the first time, and Aliyah has seen the light and has been born in this world that's so particular that we've got. So then, welcome Aliyah to this world, into this great lineage of the eternal truth. What a privilege it is to have been born in a place which, at least, I'm going to say it like this, even if it sounds awful, at least we've got less lies, because we still don't know if we still got lies that we still have to go, but we don't know that, but at least we're making the effort to not have lies anymore. We're battling against the incoherences and the stupidities and the deceits of this world. So then, that does not mean that we're not yet in the battle to continue to eliminate a lie here and there. We're still in the path, and we desire with all our soul to always learn the truth. That is what we want. We don't want to enclose ourselves in one doctrine, sealed, and say we belong to a church, and the church has these bases. No. We are in the continuous search of the truth, looking at the times, like Yeshua, who is Yahweh when he was here on earth, told us, look, be on watch on a permanent basis, because when you see the fig tree flourish, then this generation shall not pass, because everything that I've said shall be fulfilled. So then we are in the last generation, without any doubt. The fig tree that has flourished, the fig tree that was born, it was planted in its place once again in the year 1948, and now, how many do we say? 74 years, right? It's the 74th birthday, or 73rd, 74? 74th birthday. I forget about those small details. 74 years that the fig tree has had, because if in 2018 it was 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 75. It's been 75. So see the chat, yes, they confirmed that 75 is because we were expecting for 70, but in the scripture it says that one generation or 70, but the strongest or the most stubborn, the most resilient is the word that I'm looking for, will go through tribulation, but they can get to 80. There's more resilient people. For example, alias Henry Kissinger, which today is on his 100th birthday. So Grandpa, we send him a great congratulations. I don't believe he's listening to us, but we send him a great big congratulations for his 100th birthday on this live, helping for all this to be a chaos, because these people live up until 100 years old, and that's another part of the things of why Yahweh will have to tell us why. Why do these bad plants never die? These bad weeds never die. It's already 100 years old. Only the good people die young, and all the wicked people, apparently they live forever. As Iron Maiden would say in a song, only the good die young. All the evil seem to live forever. That's the way it is. Apparently, all the evil seem to live forever, only the good die young. So then he lived up until 100 years old. Maybe he might say, but hold on, here's a member that is 100 years old. Okay, that's fine. I'm talking about what is, give or take, just like an average of what things are. These people live way too much time, and they do a lot of wickedness. Okay, very well. We were hoping for him not to get to his 100th birthday, but he did. It's like I always tell you with dates and all the rest, it's difficult for things to be fulfilled, but that does not mean that we don't have to be watching the times and looking at the happenings that are taking place in the world. Either false happenings or true happenings. Some are true, some are false, but either way, we have to be looking at times. That's why we're here. That's why we gather together. That's why we enjoy every Shabbat, because every Shabbat we draw even near to time. Could it last even longer? Well, in my mind, it should not go past this year, but we could get up until 2-3 more years more, or we could even get to breaking all the prophecies and the prophetic rules up until the year 2032. That's the way it is. But that is way too far in my mind. We cannot even think, well, it's 8 years left. No, it's not the way that we should think, because things continue to advance. And prophetically speaking, of course, one says, no, not prophetically speaking, but of what you understand, the prophecy is, however you want to call it, since the way we understand the prophecy, we are already living the time of the seals, trumpets, and plagues. That has already started to be given. Could it last a little longer, a couple more years? Yes, it could. It'd been more 10 years with this one, so then it could last some more years. Today there is no baptisms to announce, I believe. No, none. Okay, very well. I believe. All those whom I wrote to, I remind you, all those whom I wrote to telling you we've already sent you the ring. If I didn't give you a number, then ask me for it. If I didn't write to you telling you that I've sent you the ring, then don't write to me, because I have no number for you. When we go to the post office and we send to someone, in the receipt there's a number, and that number is the one that I can give you. And when we send it, immediately we communicate to you that it has been sent. It's already been many weeks of so many that we've sent, and they have not arrived. Let's hope the only one that has the control of that is Yahweh, not I, no one else. That Yahweh causes it for it to arrive or not, but we desire, and at least we add our positive information, like a positive decree that every ring will arrive at its destination. Okay, let me remind you so that you don't forget this, and so that you can remind it to people of the eternal truth and out of the eternal truth, that give or take understand what the subject is, or you explain it to them, that we've got a free service that actually is spectacular, that it is Angelina's consult. If you have any problems, everyone has a problem. The whole world has problems. The whole world has been abused in different aspects. Some could be abused sexually when they're young, or others can be abused fatherly by their parents. And the rest of us, we've all been abused in what aspect? In that we were deceived. We have been subjugated to false religions. We've been subjugated to false stories. We've been subjugated to false science. We've been subjugated to false medicine. So then all that is an abuse of our conscience, an abuse of our intelligence, an abuse in every aspect. So then the human race has been abused, and the main abuser of all is Yahweh. He is the main abuser, the one that said, looking at the woman, with pains of delivery you will have your children, and your desire shall be unto the men. And to the men he said, with lots of effort and with the sweat of your brow shall you work in every aspect, he said, to work the field. Of course, there was no factory for him to work in. There was nothing to do. Of course, you're going to work the field for your food. You're going to work every day of your life like an animal, and you'll go back to the earth. So then we've been abused already. That is the greatest abuse. If there is an abuser, number one, he's called YHWH, Yahweh. He has abused the human race in an impressive way. So then all that is translated to his children, which are we. So then we are abused in every aspect, but we have all been abused. Even if you had a good childhood, you've been abused by a false religion, subjugated to worship something that does not exist. Or else, a stupid science, since we were little, they put us a globe on our hands, and up until today, they bombard us with a globe, and that is abuse. It's a psychological abuse, and we've been abused in every aspect of our lives. In culture, the culture that's so awful that we have taken, and I'm referring to that they all refer to a bad culture. Every country in different aspects, but they have all had a awful culture, an emotional charge, a genetic charge. I'm going to say it that way because it's passed on down from parents onto children, a bad way of teaching things, a bad way of educating. All those aspects we have been abused in, so then we are the children of the abuse, or of the abuser, however you want to call it. That's why, of course, if you got here, you had to be abused. Of course, you had to be abused, extremely abused. It was little, the strikes. Just very few people cry because of the strikes of the life. You know, the strikes that humanity has gotten. The whippings that we've gotten. I don't know if it's in the scripture or not. I can't remember, or it was just a movie or not. Between 39 and 40, right? It was very few whiplashes. It'd be 100 more. That is the truth. If we don't have that perspective, we cannot be judges. Just like that, we cannot be judges. I am not here to demonstrate to you the marvelous thing that Elohim is, and you have to lay prostrate because you're dog shit, because you're a sinner, helpless sinner, because you do everything. No, I'm not here to do that. That's why you've got all the other religions for. All the other religions are there for that, to continue to abuse you, your being. I'm here to say, yes, you are dog shit. We all agree that, all in the religions also, but we're here to become better ourselves. Make that dog shit become something marvelous and beautiful. That's what we're here for. And it's not that you're gonna earn the redemption because you surpassed everything. No, the thing is that Yahweh, when he came to earth, he annulled every law against us. The curses are left. He didn't annul that, evidently. The consequences, the final consequences, that the law says that you have to die like forever, that's what he annulled. So then, as long as that is not there, the effects of acting evil are still there. The effects of abuse is something brutal. Abuse is, for example, in the countries, always I speak about this, but maybe not enough, or not as clear as possible. We have been taught always, pay attention to what I'm about to teach. And I've already taught this 1,000 times over, but it hurts you every time I say it. Not everyone, but many. And I try to make this be understood. We have been taught always, because most of us come from homes, and I'm going to use that word, humble. What do you understand by humble? Poor. You understand that you don't have the things that we wish for. If there are, there's the basic ones, and that, sometimes not even the basic ones. That is what humility is, quote unquote, that they have helped us to do, or taught us to do, to understand what humility is. No, that's not humility. That is not humility. But in all the nations and in the small towns from where we are, we were born, there's lots of poverty, way too much poverty. And that poverty is translated into abuse. The more poverty, the more ignorance. The more ignorance, the more sexual abuse there is. As simple as that. So then, in the societies that are a lot more richer, in the societies in which what's basic is not lacking, and you have no worry that you have to bring the uncles, the grandparents, and the cousins to live 20 people in one house, 5,000 in one room, and just all in the same room because there's no place. So then they have more and more children every time, and they get so tight into the places where that doesn't happen, where every child has the luxury of having his own room. Wow. How many of you were born in a place like that? That in the house no one lives except for mom and dad, no one else. Not the grandma, nor the aunt, nor the uncle, nor the cousin, nor the poor guy that they picked them up to come here. There's no one. Except for dad, mom, and the children. It is registered. Very, very small abuse in the places in which there's a lot of people living together. Then it's in the places where there's more abuse, and that's something brutal. It's just like that, brutal. So then, we have been taught that we have to be hospitable like Abraham. They tell us hospitable. So then, if your brother, even though he's 40 years old and he's single, he needs a place, you bring them over to live with you. You have your children to sleep wherever, but you bring your brother. If it's your uncle. If it's your cousin, and that's how people start. They have no place to. He's in the street. What are we going to do? He has to live here. That takes place in all the places of Latin America, and I'm not talking the rest of the world. It's the same thing. But don't even mention India and all those places. But of course. But in the places of all of Latin America where we were born, always the houses, they don't grow up, or they grow up a little, but the inhabitants of the house multiply themselves. And to top it off, they have the quality that they don't have just one or two children. No. You have children, just on a high scale, So then everything augments, and the abuses are something that are brutal, horrifying, just like that, horrifying. And there's no sexual abuse. There is another type of abuse that you don't have enough contact with their parents, because there's a lot of children, for example, and the parents don't have time. A mother that has 10 children, she does not give them time as if she had 2. Do we agree? So then the kids grow up on the streets. They grow up with their little friends, and that's where you get a different type of abuse. So then the poor societies are the most pernicious thing there is. I'll repeat this again because that is contrary to what your mom taught you. Your mom taught you that us, the poor people, were the best. No. Poverty and wickedness are hand in hand. The more poverty, the more wickedness. There is no poor person that is good. Altogether. Well, let's go back to this. That relation is that if you don't agree with me, there's the door, and leave, because you're a poor in mind, which is worse. There is no option here, so that you see this differently. There's no option. Because if you don't see it differently, it is because you're a stupid idiot. Not because you have different opinions, because you're rather a stupid idiot. You haven't seen the whole world. You haven't gone out of your house, and you think only in a little small cube that they taught you. No. The more poverty, the more wickedness. Just like that. It is precisely something impressive that when you see a poor society, you're going to see a society of abuses that are quiet, that no one knows about. They hide it to top it off, because the more ignorant the person is, the more stupid they are, and the more wicked they are. The more, and I'm going to say the education that this dog shit world presents, but in the end of it all, some type of education. What education? You say the one in the university, in the school system, it's worse. Like, that's even preferable to not have any education, because then you start to think later. You can start to think alone, but with other weapons. At least they give you other weapons to use your mind. If your mind is not used, you become an animal, like a dog. Oh, Sophie got upset. Pardon me. Mikal, pardon me. Pardon me, because what it says that I offended her. Of course. Yes. The more I know people, the more I love my dog. Okay, so then, when a person is very ignorant, and when I refer to ignorant, it's a basic, complete, entirely not knowing how to write. That's a limitation, that's brutal. Not knowing how to read, which is the same thing, hand in hand. You don't know how to write, you don't know how to read. Some know how to read, but not to write. But let's suppose. And then later the education at a level of how our whole body works, our mind. It is something that goes hand in hand with wickedness. The more, while the body, the brain, is less worked, it is more propense to act like an animal, like the dogs or any animal. When they need sex, they forget that it was the mother, the father, or the sister. And they have sex because they don't think. Mikal is looking at me. I'm not talking about you, Mikal. Yes, of course. She said, no, it's not me. I know you're not talking about me because I'm operated so as to not have children. Understanding the times, I understood I got operated to not have anything. So it says it's not for me. So it says the animality of human beings is directed by the intensity of the principles. I'm going to say that I don't like this. The principles, I'm going to say the lower ones, the elemental principles of life. Like the part of above, here above, is not worked. This part above does not guide the body, but rather, even the impulses come from here, but we know that the body is, or the brain is divided in new brain, the brain that's give or take in the common brain, and the brain that is called the pseudo-rachemia, or the primary, or the reptilian. Why reptilian? Because it does the basic functions, absolutely basic. And one of the basic functions is sex. Basic in human beings. Why is it basic? Because Yahweh placed it there. The greatest abuser of them all, you already know, Yahweh placed it there. If Yahweh were to take out that need, how many people would not have been abused? In other words, all of them that have been abused sexually, they would not have been abused. It is clear. So then what is it that makes something to be mobilized, an action that will mark a person throughout their whole life? What does that? The aggressor to have that. Precisely. First of all, not to have a brain that is worked. You'll say, no, but then, so then what about these abusers, these rich people that are abusers? There's exceptions. But in poverty, there's almost no exceptions. In the rich people, there's exceptions, but in poverty, it's almost all 100%. I tell it to you like that. It could be that in your case, it did not get to you, but in the majority, it is actually lamentable. Why? Because we've been taught that humility is what Elohim looks for. That is what Elohim looks for. A poor person that does everything wrong, that is more on the side of like an animal, of a thinking being, a space that is private of someone that is vulnerable because I am stronger. That is the human part. But in poverty, there's even less of a human part. That no one says it because it is against. I'm talking about Latin peoples because we speak Spanish. The rest, I mean, we don't even care. Well, what do you say that? Because who else cares about China or India or the Arab countries? If with ours we have enough, what could I care less about the rest? I'm talking about all the Latins. Then in one way or another, we've been abused. It's got to do with poverty. Not just poverty that affects the sexual abuses in a brutal way. It also affects all types of DHSs, and the first of them all, and not the only one, mind you, but the one that I believe in right now, the most important one is called diabetes. Why do you always touch diabetes? I touch it because it is the number one assassin of Latin America. Almost everyone has that. Why do they have that? Because they live on top of each other. Because living together brings all kinds of problems. I explained this to you not so that you solve your problem, because 90% of you live one on top of another. Either way, you listen to me or not, I'm explaining about the reasons why. I'm not even saying that if you can do something, but in your house, should the parents live, it's only the parents and the children until they're old enough and they can leave, and then you have the parents. That's the way it is. And the children, they can look for their place to form themselves there and to break their hands and their heads of how to have their own little nest. Imagine if in a nest of nature, instead of having a male and female, you have 4 males, 4 females. Just imagine a place like that. And if that we add the stupid Latin American, and I'm talking to all the women here. And if to this I speak to, and if to this I talk to the women which have been, and they have felt that by having a male, their parents, especially their mother, would treat better the brother, the male brother, the boy, and the girl, dog shit. Everything better for the male. That is something that is typical in Latin Americans, and you say it's not true, there's the door. And you're a liar. Because actually, that is a reality. The best for the male. In other countries where you can see this more and less, in other countries, in Argentina, in my experience, it's less marked. But from Argentina up here, it's very more notable. The baby boy, and it comes from the countries.
The thing is that we in Argentina have a lot of Italian as well as Spaniards influence, where the woman is protected.
But the Spaniards also. This comes from old. It comes from old in Israel. A woman would not be worth anything. To have a male, it was.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was brought up in a family where it's like, don't touch the girl.
I understand. Where I was brought up, that's the way it is. Where I was brought up, that's the way it is. But in the rest of Latin America, when I came here, I would see one case after another in Argentina. No, but either way, it's mixed. My parents always, they treated every one of us per se equally, and a lot of protection to my sisters, and to me, they would leave me with more liberty per se. A little more free. But in the Latin countries, and of all the cases that I see and they tell me, always the one that the little male has the priority. And that cannot be. I tell it to you like that. I speak to all the Latin mothers of Latin America. That has to end. Just like that, absolutely has to end. The one that you have to take care of more are the woman, not the male. The one that you have to protect more is the woman, not the male. The one that you should give more positive things, it is the woman, not the male.
As well as teaching her how to live, as well as educate her.
And to teach her to live and educate her, but if the mother has no education, what are they going to teach her? That's why I try to educate. It's all a culture that will take a long time to break. It's all a culture that'll take absolutely, not even by listening to me, you're going to break it, but because many of the people listening to me, they see it, they understand it, but they can't change their belief. They can't change it because they've been brought up that way. And they see the male differently than the woman. You that are here, do you understand what I'm saying? And so then, how does it affect that the woman, the little girl, is left unprotected? And so then that is when she receives the abuses which she receives. Because it's kind of like she's set aside, second category, and in every aspect. And that has to end already, really. Wow, that is, and when will that end? Tell the truth. If Yahweh expects us for this to end, we'll be here 200 more years. Is it good what we see in the world of LGBT, the pro-gay movement, the feminist movement? Is it good? Is that good? Tell you the truth. If you think about it from one side or another, a little more logical of how to change this humanity, you're going to see its positive part. Because we can enclose ourselves like the ultra Christians. They say that goes against the Bible, but if the Bible is dog shit, That goes against the Jewish culture, but if the Jewish culture is dog shit, that goes against machismo, but machismo is dog shit. So then, of course, absolutely, of course, that if I want to take the society just like the one that God expected from Israel, then we end up, why do we advance all these thousands of years? We would not have advanced at all. Women don't even have a voice or a vote, not even to be a witness. Women can't do anything religious. Women could not do a sacrifice. Women could not. You've never asked yourself that. If you were a woman in a sinner, could you take a little lamb? No, of course not. You, a woman, to take a little lamb. The woman is nothing in the Bible. Nothing. The man had to take a little lamb. You've never imagined this because the churches have never preached that to you. You, as a woman, a single woman, you commit a sin. So then it says, I want to take a dove or something. Back in that time, you could not. If you were to take that, we left one that was not allowed for you to do, and then another is that it was to be more embarrassing. So how were women's sins forgiven? Who knows? Who knows? Because the thing is about men, those that are marked were men. The circumcision was unto men. If you were a woman, your decontamination would take a lot longer from your mom, and you would live practically, I don't know, more from the month, almost half the month contaminated. Because you were a bleeding person that were filthy, and everything you touched was filthy. What a woman touched was filthy, and that would happen half the month. That is craziness, because if you have the period, let's suppose that the period would begin on the first of the month. Let's say you have it for 7 days. Let's suppose maximum 7 days. And then after the 7 days that it would stop, you had 7 more days to purify yourself, and then you have to take your underwear to the Kohen for him to say if you were clean or not. Look at the abuse, the humility of the woman, the humiliation of the woman should be half a month filthy. We laugh now because we find it something completely from science fiction. How many women would want to live in that time? You would sit on a chair and it was left filthy. It was left unclean. If you touched something, you had to break it. I don't understand that dog shit religion. I just have no other words to use. More of a plague than that. But if we live under the 7 plagues ever since we were born in this fucking world, ever since Adam and Eve were created, and Yahweh gave them the curses, why do we want more plagues, seals, and trumpets? We were already fucked from 6,000 years ago. And to top it off, we live extremely fucked up, and to top it off, the churches would torment us by saying the final plagues would grab you. Go fuck yourself. Well, what plagues? I was born in the plagues. My whole life was a plague. My mom was a plague. She was a trumpet, and it was sealed in her mind. My father, the same thing. My brethren, the same. And that is what you could say, what all the human beings say. What plagues are you talking to me about? What plagues are you talking to me about if this whole world is a great plague? To top it off, they are threatening that something worse is coming. Let what's worse come now. Once you wake up from this world, you say, what other plague can I have? What more plagues could I have? And that, when you get a sickness of the ones that we already know about, forget about it. What trumpet plague? Are you talking to the people that died yesterday? What the fuck could they care about? The ones that died thousands of years ago. That's what we're already sick of. The threats, that the trumpets are coming, the plagues upon you, that you're gonna get ulcers all over the place because you didn't love God, because you didn't kneel before Jesus, before his cross, and you say, I am a sinner, I'm a helpless sinner, I'm a son of a bitch, but I want you to give me your grace. But if you lived in the plagues, That is to save yourself from the plagues. I was listening to this complete idiot pastor this week that was saying that we were in the last opportunities of kneeling before Jesus now, before the plagues would fall upon us and we would go to hell forever. It was not an Adventist. An Adventist would have said, no, after the plagues, they resurrect you once again. They show you your sins to end up fucking you up so that you say, yes, Jesus was just, and then once you kneel, it's no good. Once you kneel, then they're gonna fall. What's gonna fall? The consuming fire, and you'll be a part of the purifying lake, and you'll end up no longer existing forever. But before that, you're gonna be resurrected again, so that then fuck up your life even less. If it wasn't fucked up in this life, you have a bigger one, knowing that you're no longer gonna exist. And then the whole rest of the Christians, they say, no, there's an eternal hell that you're gonna be suffering your whole life out. To top it off, we have to deal, since we're little, with that threat. Because all of you, or most of you, your parents would say, don't do that sin, because you're gonna go to hell. But now, seeing it from a distance, you say, what sons of bitches? They were worse than me, those sons of bitches. They would threaten me with hell only to psychologically dominate me, because those deserve to go to hell the way they were. Why? Because you start to see the fails, the defects, the abuses, the sins. You start to see, and actually that makes you understand something, what I just told you. All of Latin America that lives in poverty, we have great problems. To top it off, we were taught that humility was what God was looking for, and that the proud are those which God hates. It all depends, humility for what and pride for what. I'm very proud of knowing Elohim. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm very proud of what I believe in, but 100% proud. I would never say I'm very humble in what I believe in. No, my spirit, my heart lives in my whole chest, fills of understanding YHWH, of understanding that there is no devil. It's enough with that stupid shit of understanding that you're not in this life to decide your eternal future. No, of understanding that Yahweh said, final point for sin, a complete redemption for the humans. That fills me with more than pride. And to listen to a stupid idiot to saying that it'll be hell forever, that is lamentable. That is poverty in every aspect. And of course, richness is the same thing. Silver is the same thing as knowing. Richness, the emotional richness of knowledge, and of knowledge is very different to poverty, or not. You have a poor person of knowledge, a poor person of wisdom, and you don't trust them at all. You're not going to give them a task that your life depends on. It's a very stupid person that you know that they can't put two and two together. You already know a lot of people, starting with your mother. So then they give them a task depending whether you do it correct or this whole house falls down. Are you going to make her do a task like that? No. You're not going to have her do that task. You're not going to have her do that task. You're not going to have her do a task of which your life depends on. You'd have to be crazy, absolutely crazy. Well, the same thing in the poverty, monetary poverty. The example that we were given, Yeshua, when he came, he was poor. No, Yeshua gave the appearance of being poor. He was the richest of them all. He owned everything. You think that in the mind of Yeshua, he felt poor. Well, a poor person feels poor. There's a difference. You think that Yeshua came in a world in which he was deceived like we were? No. Yeshua came knowing everything. There's a great difference of coming here. You don't know who the fuck you are, not knowing to be fed by the greatest lies that those that teach you will make you believe, to grow, and then little by little to wake up and say, well, this was a lie and I ate it for so many years. This was another lie. And this I would swear was true. I would see myself one day of being able to go to the moon. I would see myself as if I was head down in Argentina. That's how they taught me. Those in Argentina were our heads are down, and everybody in the northern hemisphere are standing up. And Argentinians are all with their heads down. I always saw myself like that. How awful. I don't feel like I'm head down, but oh well. That's the way it is. We're head down. We're upside down. To come to this world knowing the truth is very different. This week I was reminding Leslie why I argued so much with Gambetta, because Gambetta is an Adventist pastor, renowned, already out of the church, but very renowned. I'm speaking to the people that don't know who Mr. Hugo Gambetta is. He has a soccer player's name, but he really can't play soccer, but he does dribble the ball to get all the lies out there for the people. The guy taught one time live, because when we were together, we'd go see him. The guy taught that in the end of it all, Jesus did come to earth to show us that this is a theory, Adventist doctrine, that you can, like Mexico screams that yes we can, but they still can't. They say yes we can, but you never get to the playoffs in the World Cup, but you can fulfill the law. What? That's what he came for, to demonstrate that you could fulfill the law, and something else is to demonstrate to us how to fulfill the law. And the other thing is that we have to live the life that he lived. I'm reminding you of the things that you've heard through the years. He is our guide. We have to continue Yeshua's steps. If we have to continue Yeshua's steps, why do we get married? First of all, Yeshua did not get married. So then the one that wants to follow Yeshua's steps has to be single. The one that wants to follow the steps of Yeshua should not work. If we want to follow his steps, right? If we want to follow his steps, right? And at 33 years old, to go to some place and give yourself up. And afterwards, well, I don't want to say it because it's going to be misunderstood. Forget about the last part. So then I asked him, and he said, we can live without sin. When one says that we can live without sin under his concept, because they're a great sinner and a son of a bitch, and he's only given affront to the people, lying to them and making them feel that he's a whole saint and you're a dog shit sinner. He says, like me, we can live without sin. How? By the Holy Spirit, he says. And so then that is what really bothered me the most. He says Jesus could have sinned unless he would not have asked and obtained strength from the Holy Spirit, the third person of the Trinity, to be able to triumph in all things. So then if he is showing that to us, we are asking for the Holy Spirit, then we are going to follow Jesus' life, living the life of Jesus. What a pretty title for an Adventist conference, right? Living the life of Jesus. So then I told him that could never be. First of all, because we're sinners since we are born. We have a conscience and they tell us not to do something and we do it. When we least expect it, we've already stolen something. You stole something, or from the parents, or from his friends, or something. He stole something. Of course, he didn't have a chance to ask the Holy Spirit, how is it that we were sinners? And that, amongst some things, I could mention a whole bunch of others, that makes you extremely sinful. How could it be that Yeshua asked the Father when he was a child, didn't have a conscience, and didn't make him a sinner? There are differences. He says there's no difference. The difference is if we ask the Holy Spirit or not. So then that was the motive in which we parted ways with the Mr. Gambetta, because the discussion was enclosed in saying Yeshua was a God, and you could not even mention whether he sinned or not. You should not even mention that, but he didn't need the help of a third Holy Spirit so that he could follow his path. Not at all. It was him. It was him. And he didn't come to demonstrate that the law can be fulfilled. He came to demonstrate that the law cannot be fulfilled, and the only way was for him to die. If they had explained it to me that way, he didn't come to show us the path of how. He came to annul the path which he had shown since he created the people of Israel. It's as simple as that. This fills me with pride to have understood it. Other people don't understand it. And they try. They try to be the very best people as possible, but they deceive themselves. Instead of changing, they deceive themselves, and they end up being a nefarious, fake hypocrite. That's the way it is. And they deceive themselves thinking they're good when they're not good. When they're liars, they're deceivers, and they have no point of truth like flat earth or anything could they understood. So then, what am I trying to say with this? That we've been abused and deceived, and in our poor societies, that is where wickedness is more. If you go to a poor ghetto, you know that you should not go there at night. Why? Because they're all together, they're waiting to rob you. Why? Who makes robbers? Poverty does. Do you understand with me? Poverty equals to humility equals delinquency and wickedness. And wickedness, if you go to a rich neighborhood, you can walk there perfectly well without any problem. Just like that, without any type of problem. Why? Because you know that the people that are fine don't want to rob you. In fact, they're going to look at you like you want to rob them. But they're not a threat that they want to rob you. Unfortunately, we live in this world, and they teach us that whole fake philosophy. What do we have to do? First of all, always to aspire to have more, not to have less. Aspire to have more. To decree that you have more, not less. Decree and aspire and work to be better people. If you're living in a house where there is more than your parents and your children, go. Just like that, go. Start a life. It's not the words of being alone, but start your path. You can't start your own path if you live in a place where it's full of uncles, it's full of all types of things. And if you're an uncle that live there, you have to start to look from here on out where to live alone, not to drop in, not because you can pay less, because it's convenient. If you own a house, you bring other people to live there so they can help you with the rent. You've seen everything wrong, because what they do is they're going to help you to make your home a disaster, not to better this. Okay. Enough introduction. All this is for Angelina's consult. If you have any problems or the ones that I've mentioned, and due to all the things that I've told you, then call Angelina, and she would help you to focalize, and try to turn the situation around. Many thanks to all those that help Angelina, which are a few. Okay, don't think that it's many, but the few that do send, she thanks you way a lot. Very well. We are 10 days away from 217. Today is the 7th. 2-7. Today's 2, the second month. Zeva or Ishar, however you want to mention it, second month. 7th day. 217 is the day in which the deluge began in the whole world. Yeshua said As in the days of Noah, so shall it also be the day of the Son of Man. As it happened in the days of Noah, let's go ahead and read it so I can quote it correctly. Matthew chapter 24, 36 and on says, however, no one knows the day of the hour. We all agree, although that phrase could say something else. No one has the power to say it, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. In other words, only Yahweh. But as the days of Noah, you see, here's a hint. But as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, the days before 217, flood equal 217, 17th day of the second month. If you're lost, you don't know why I say 217. The Bible says that the day of the second month, in the 17th day of the month, it started to rain. As in the days before the 217, the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day, what day? The 217th day, in which Noah entered into the ark, and knew not, until the flood came, until 217 came, and took them all. So shall also, here's a very phrase that is very important, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. Very well, so then, he says that when the Son of Man shall come, which is not him. I clarify this in case you're listening to me and you say, oh, the coming of Jesus, of Christ, and the clouds with the little angels. No. So then the rapture, the truth. No, not even that. Not that either. The coming of the Son of Man is the apparition or the entrance into the action or something that has to do with the Son of Man. But the Son of Man is not Yahweh. It is not the version of Yahweh called Yeshua of 2,000 years ago. No. The Son of Man is a title of the sons of Elohim. So then, the coming of the sons of Elohim is as if to say, we could say, like an investing of the sons of men. Something, I don't know, it could be, who knows what it is, but it's something. And when the sons of Elohim get together, or whatever, that they enter into some sort of action of a transformation or whatever, then that would be the coming of the Son of Man, the coming of the sons of Elohim. And I don't know what action it'll be, I don't know, but it has to do with 217. Will it be this 217? No, I don't know. That I don't know. Yeshua is the one that says it, not I, okay? He says, in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, this 217 coincides with the countdown of Daniel chapter 12, the 1290 in the 1335. So then, the 1335, the 1990 have ended already. Where did they start? Well, when an abomination upon the human body begins, which is the temple. If you now believe that there will be an abomination, then this was not an abomination. Go and you can take all the doses that they're offering, 3 or 4, and the boosters, if this is not an abomination. If the people are not dying in a whole quantity, that's true. That's true. I was thinking that it would have a higher effect, that a little more people were to start dying. I mean, you really don't see like they're dropping like flies everywhere. You see sadness in different people, younger, children, famous people, but it's not the greatest thing. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? It has your neighborhood changed it, or has it changed it? No, it hasn't changed. So it's not that people are finding very few people, nothing. It's like nothing. And if we talk about thousands in the whole world is nothing. Just like that, nothing. Maybe somebody that you knew, that's fine, but the entire life have people died. It's not that nobody died before. No, people have always died. We understand that there are different causes, that there are sudden causes, that there are ages that correspond not with what's normal, but it's not so many. If you tell me that half of a university were to die, that'd be something, or out of every 100, 10, you'd say, what's going on here? But it's not 10 out of every 100, it is of every thousands and thousands one. So then the statistics have gone up, but no one can say anything. Honestly, nothing. It is just a little tiny more, a little tiny more. It's not about what we're talking about, but we know that is the first time in existence, that the whole world was involved in this crisis. And that crisis, we could call it a lie, but I'm trying to look for the words so that we are still live. You understand this clearly. So then this sanitary crisis, involved the whole entire world. It covered the entire whole world. There was no country saying, no, we didn't participate in this. No. That's for the first time in life, when we see that actually there is an abomination of something that should not be in the body, that is when we understand that that abomination existed. And it exists up until today. And it is the cause of those few extra deaths that there are. But there are some. If we say everything that we think about is wrong, the abomination hasn't come yet. It'll come in the following declaration of the Worldwide Organization of Sickness, when they declare, not that they have more power than any other time, when they declare it, then the definite abomination shall come. This was just a practice, so then dangerous and all, but it was a practice. If we think that way, it's better that we grab the Bible and throw it into the shed. Why? Because either Elohim is either playing with us, or the only thing that this will do is that we lose our faith completely. If we see something else come and say, oh, what was that first thing then? Why did we learn something that stopped us and prepared us to avoid it? Why did it last some time that even it would enter into the 1290? Because when we get to the 1290, the demand stopped. Why was it so precise in that time? This whole period of time. Okay. If that is kind of like what we think it is, then the 1335 will end in 10 days. 1290 ended on 8 or 30th. And we start the new year. When we start this new year, and now 217 in 10 days will the 1335 end. And there's also no more of a countdown. And what did the 1335 say? Well, Daniel 12 says. Where do I have it here? Daniel 12. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1305 and 30 days. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh. And what is he referring to? Well, first of all, we used to always think, or at least in some point in time in our history, we thought that we would be in a very difficult period, and that almost about survival in one way or another. And so then it was the person that would arrive, would get there, would be blessed, would cometh, however they could, to 1335 days. But evidently, so it wasn't that way, because we were better than ever. There's not been better years than the last 3. Better years in every aspect. Better years in knowledge, better years in what we've learned, even though we've learned a lot more. But it was something marvelous for me. Since it started in 2019, it's been marvelous, a unique experience for me. Which, what it did most was entertain me. That was my experience. I don't know about yours, but mine one is extremely fun to see how the people acted. It was constant diversion, 3 years of diversion. So then, what does this mean? Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to 13. If you say it was terrible for you, then maybe you believed in something that they were talking about. To say, no, it was terrible for me because I had to use the mask. I didn't want to use it. Well, if you take that as something fun, then you take it as something fun. Right, the shots were terrible. I didn't want it, but they added me. That is your problem. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to. Well, actually, we're still waiting for, and we didn't leave from here. Is it referring to that? Is it referring to nothing? Like you're going to have a time of tribulation for 1335 days, and he that arriveth at least with one less leg, one less arm on your knees, you were saved. You got to the objective. You can say that. Careful, do not get distracted. Don't fall into stupid shit. It won't be an easy time, but you have to wait. Waiting is even more difficult. How much do we have to wait? 1290, where an abomination will be applied completely, but you who are out of that abomination have nothing to do with that abomination, that have fun. They laugh at what's happening. You have to exercise patience, and you'll be blessed if you come to, with faith and patience, to 1335 days. It's not a difficult time for you, but what you should not do is to abandon anything. Could it mean that? Yes. I don't find much sense to either of the two. I want to grab Daniel 12 in the Bible and just crumple it up and throw it away. Because why do we have 1290 and 1335, even though we see how those dates were so precise in many things, from Yom Kippur to Judgment, Yom Kippur 2019 to the Judgment, from Yom Kippur 2019, where the cup of wine starts, this little problem, 1290 in the world, that for us, it was not a problem. It was fun, and for me, it was blessed. To top it off, it was blessed. 1290, and now 1335. Might it be that Elohim has a surprise for us? That'd be great. And if it's a surprise, it's also for me. So I'm not prophesying anything because I haven't the least idea what he wants to do. I'm seeing what he wrote. Maybe he's changed his idea, changed his mind. I'm just seeing what he wrote thousands of years ago, and not even he wrote it. There's not even one sole word written by him here. It says, but I wrote that book. I had it be written. And the idiots that I used, well, they're pretty hard-headed. And you can say, no, the 10 commandments, the 10 words, no, he didn't write them. He wrote the ones that Moses broke. So nothing was left. So then the second set was written by Moses, so that if he changed something, that's Moses' problem. Then it was translated into papyrus, to papers. So then out of what's left here, Yahweh didn't write anything. It's kind of like some out of my teachings would write and says, the Christian wrote this. No, Christian didn't write that. If you heard me, you interpreted it like dog shit, and you wrote it. And you'll say, you said this. No, I didn't say that. They do it to me. You said, when did I say that? Because this brother said that you said. This brother said that you said. This brother said that Yahweh said. And that is where you get the translation. All the rest, so then just imagine. So then, the 1335, if nothing happens now, I'll never wait for another 1335 ever again. I'll declare to you like that. I'll say, Daniel, throw it into the garbage can. No, not into the garbage can. Just those dates, which are like, as if to say, I'm not going to wait for another 1335. I want you to understand that I'm not going to wait for another 1335. 2 years from now, from here on out, there's 1290, and was that not an abomination? Was that an abomination not good? No, then if it was not, the one, then why would it be this one? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how my mind works. I'm not going to worship Yahweh because the Bible says I have to worship him. No. At some point in time, I may have thought that way. Now he has to demonstrate why he is worthy of worship. I have to know what the fuck I'm worshiping. Even if it sounds awful, what I'm saying. And what is a worship is to have sympathy for him, to have admiration to him. That is what it is to worship. How am I going to worship him? Because the Bible says so. I could care less. I could give a fuck what the Bible says. I have to fall in love with the guy that created me like a creator. Not because the book says so, but because I see that he has the intentions and I see him like a marvelous being. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then those dates are already fulfilled. What's going to happen in 10 days? Well, I'm telling it to you now. Record this, put it. Nothing, like always. Nothing. What'll happen? Nothing. If something were to happen, it'll be a great surprise for me, for you, and for the whole eternal truth. And for the whole world, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe for your children. Or maybe Yahweh says, no, my group was another one. I had it in China. It was hidden. You're laughing. It was not online, but those are my children. Who? A group of little Chinese. A group of little Chinese people that understood the message. I don't know, from Moses unto Paul, they understood everything. They're going to go and possess the world. Magnificent. A group of Chinese people possessing the world. And they have some Hindu brethren that converted from Buddha. And they understand the whole truth. Okay, give it to them already, but do something. In other words, a surprise has to come. Like that guy that was hiding in the women's monastery. A surprise. Surprised. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to 1335 days of what? Since the temple is contaminated. And since the time in which the sacrifice, the perpetual sacrifice, the tamid, is taken away, the talmid, which is the functioning, I'm going to say it like that, or the true or false functioning, the normal one, and be enthroned in the temple, the abomination that maketh desolate shall 1290 days shall pass. That is precisely what has already been fulfilled. An abomination to the temple entered, of course. It was at the human temple. In the human temple, it's never been an abomination. Look, this week we were talking, like always, like every day that we talk with Leslie, and we were chatting that actually in history they tell us about the yellow plague, the bubonic plague, your grandma's plague. Tell us about all the plagues, right? Even the closest one that we've had, aside from this one, the Spanish fever or the Spanish flu, right? The Spanish flu? The Spanish flu. It wasn't there. They said the Spanish flu 100 years ago. Okay. I personally don't believe in any plague that has ever existed, ever. Not the yellow one, or the green one, or the black one, or the bubonic, or anything. It is a lie. Once you understand that what you don't see does not exist, those viruses don't exist, and I mentioned it because I don't think we'll have any problem. They don't exist, so they don't exist, so then any type of plague exists. But the Bible says that there are plagues. No, the Bible doesn't say that there are plagues. The Bible says that what is translated as plagues, they are bugs that eat up your harvests. That the locusts, some bugs that may eat up your harvests, worms, those are the biblical plagues. All visible things. Worms, insects, locusts, that you kill one but there's 10,000. Those are the biblical plagues. There's no invisible plague. Since when do we have invisible plagues? Since a little bit ago. No more than 1,000 years ago. Before never in the 4,000 years of history, not one was in a plague of yellow fever it's never existed. We're the stupid idiots that believe all the stupid shit they tell us. So then those plagues didn't exist? No. It's just that men would kill people to take their properties, to gain kingdoms. They had the stupid mind that we were way too many. And that's what you would call as a plague. There's bubonic plague, the yellow fever, the black plague, however you want to call it. And if we were to pass on from here to 200, 300 years ahead, and we would look ahead, they would say, oh, in 2019, we had a terrible plague. We would read it in the history books, at 1,000 times over. They would say more than 6 million people died. Just that cipher. 6 million people died. And it's more. Now, officially, I think it's like 7, 8 million, right? But that would be translated to history like 20, 30, 40, 100 million annihilated. From the years 2019 and 2025, 300 people died. The whole earth were affected. They took drastic measures. If it weren't for those measures, this would have ended entirely with humanity. Then we had the protection, and thanks to that protection, it was reduced to zero or to a minimum. There was always a group of ignorant fools, anti-system people that didn't want the protection. And thanks to those, it lasted longer, and there was more death. Because if the world were to work as one, in unison, and they had all been protected, this would have finished way before. If we could go in 100, 200 years ahead, it'll be left like this. So then, now I'll go back. The bubonic plague, it never existed. It never existed. It's a lie. It's a lie. The people would kill and kill and kill. It said they all died. The rats brought it. Our whole life we've had rats. Our whole life we've had rats. Our whole life. Have you ever gotten sick? The Black Plague, that's a lie. That's a lie. And all the stories they tell us are lies just to write lies. Just ask Ellen G. White. History is a lie. What are the people going to say when they get before Yahweh? How much truth did they have? Only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. So then, enough with all the stupid plagues there is. Don't believe anything, absolutely nothing. I do believe in resolutions in conjunction that it could have happened, fears spread out in certain places, and then conjunction solutions, and the solutions in conjunction give you precisely the problem of what apparently is something contagious. It isn't so. It's a solution in conjunction. So then, what was I trying to say with this? What I'm trying to say is that not even in the place that they mention in history, which are lie, none ever covered the entire earth. It was always here or there or over there or over there. But this plague, the 2019 plague, covered the whole earth. We do agree with that, right? According to what they tell us, right? It covered the whole earth. So then, I would argue, Yahweh, forever, this is the sign that you gave us of precisely of the greatest lie made up, of which an abomination for the body was created, where it's injected, where it's inoculated, where all types of dog shit is placed, which should not be there. So then, what else should we wait for? For them to come and inject us with what? With mercury? To say, oh, this is an abomination. Is that what we have to wait for? No, absolutely not. So then, 1335 are fulfilled now, and they're not going to ever fucking be fulfilled. Remember, words, even though I won't say, I don't know what I'll say later. Well, what I'm thinking about today, 1335, whether we see something or not, they have no other fulfillment ever again. Just like the 1260 ever again, and never again will I do any judgment to Babylon, because that is so, or else it would be fake. What was the other judgment? No, we're going to do a true one. This is just practice. No, I mean, what the fuck is this? Absolutely not. So then, judgment was true in our behalf. It's like, I'm just playing. Maybe it was the little Chinese, the children of Elohim. Maybe they have to do a judgment. They'll do it up ahead. But ours is unique. The only event, period. And it was done where it said that it had to be under the dominion of the horn, the little horn, under the dominion, the one that wants to change the times and the law. It's the only one that wants to change precisely a big reset into the world, an entire reset. It has an agenda 2030, just like ours, 2030, 2031, either way. 2030, the agenda. So then, since all that is well planned, there is no more 1290, there's no more 1290, and there's no more 1335. That was fulfilled, and that's it, it's over. In other words, it's about to be fulfilled, 1335. The 1260 were fulfilled. The 1290 were fulfilled. The 1335, 10 more days, and they'll be fulfilled, period. That's it. That's all I have to say about 217. I'd like to thank Felix, who gave us this. He sent us from London. It's 2 candlesticks. It says it's a decoration. It says real crystal and silver. I don't know if it's real silver or if it's covered with silver. I don't know. Maybe it's as silver as my golden one. But it looks real precious, and this is crystal, it says, or real crystal. They're precious. I love them. They give both Leslie and I, and this, which I thought would go below. You see, they're like, it's to, they hold candles. Did I say cup holders? It's to put candles. You put a candlestick here so that it illuminates, right? I thought that was the base. I said, look how pretty. And the other son of a bitch says, the coronation of H.N. King Charles III. The coronation of H.N. King Charles III. And I said, wow, this is to put it on down here. And this is no idiot. That must be a chocolate. I said, what? It's a chocolate. So then I have golden coins. What if this was just solid gold, Leslie? Golden coins of King Charles III. Thank you, Felix. Later we'll try the chocolate, which must be very delicious, very delicious. Back here it says chocolate with milk. How good is this? I thought it was something like those cup holders. No, I'd never seen them this size. I've seen the little coins, the common ones. Next time, you should send me solid gold. Precious, many thanks, Felix. Spectacular. I'll leave this here. Good. I always forget to thank Minto and Haiti for the flowers. Today they brought me the flowers, and that United States flag, I'm not too nationalist. It came with the flowers. So here are the little flowers that I said, what were they? Chrysanthemums? It says right there, what's it say? It says in the tag. It says something. Oh, he fell asleep on it. Chrysanthemums, right? With the American flag, spectacular. Many thanks. Many thanks for the flowers. And I always forget to thank you, but many thanks. Last Shabbat, I saw some precious ones, and the other Shabbat also spectacular. And here we've got, who do we have here? Oh, the little octopus looking at me. The octopus looking at me, and then one of his children came, and Eddie's here. What for? Because they are complaining. They are complaining. Where is the Elohim of justice? Where is he? Very well. Shema Israel, YHWH Eloheinu, YHWH Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim, Yahweh, one is. And we're so proud of knowing this truth, and that the whole world does not understand. Proverbs 25:2, it is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word, yet it is the honor of the king to search out the word. I was thinking about what I've told you, aside from the beauty of this text, that it's all concealed, the scriptures, that if we get to say, no, those 1335 days, we have to apply them up ahead. We'll see when. Then we should also apply the judgment up ahead. We'll see when. Everything that we've done has been canceled, and we're also canceled, and we'll wait for a group of Chinese people, Hindus, or from Australia, who knows? But not from this area, okay, mind you. It has to be something very, very hidden. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to say this. Thai groups, whatever it might be, but not us. Why? Because we said we did what we had to do, and we did it truly, and that's it. It's as if we were to tell you, no, we didn't see you come back. Come back, and we'll crucify you again, even with more of an effort. I mean, he'd have to be crazy to show up, because we will crucify him. So then, the 1260 were fulfilled, the 1290 were fulfilled, and the 1335 will be fulfilled in 10 days. Whether something visible happens or not, I'll say that it's been fulfilled, because we're in times of plagues. Malachi 2:17, ye have wearied Yahweh with your words, and ye say, in what have we wearied him? In what? In that you say, whomever doth evil pleaseth Yahweh, and in such he delighteth or owls. Where is the Elohim of justice? Actually, there comes a point in which we really want to start to see justice, for it to start to reign in this world, whomever it may be. Says there comes a point you say, whomever that brings it, that's fine. Spectacular picture that Leslie took is precisely from Angelina's present that she gave us for when the anniversary celebration, right? Anniversary, right?
Yes, it was for the anniversary of 2019, I believe.
No, it was last year.
It was the one prior to the Pearl one.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very well. Revelation 6:5-6, Jerusalem to 1976 says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come, and see, and I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Very well. And thus we enter into the study of the plagues, the trumpets, and the seals, which is less important of everything we've talked about up until now. I want you to know, if you were bored about what we talked about, what I talked about before is more important. This I could care less about, because I'm already sick with the 7 trumpets, the 7 seals also, and the plagues also. I don't even have any fear. No, not fear. I'm already annoyed. Why? Because it's all a concealed language. It's all a language. There comes a point in which you say, stop it already. Let's stop with it. Let's see for things to start to be fulfilled. That's why I'm telling to you, the most important thing is what I've talked about up until now. An hour and a half of a message is so important. Now, what I'm about to speak is the least important, what's trivial. Will be in a speculative plane, completely speculative. Okay, let's begin. First seal, trumpet, plague, Revelation 6:1-2. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, a tocsin, it says, and a crown was given unto him. Key words, tocsin, crown, and was given unto him, and he went forth conquering, and to conquer as a dominator, and to continue dominating. That white horse is the pharmakeia horse, the horse that went out to dominate the entire world with its lies and to shoot arrows with its toxin with something that is called a crown. It is very clear. There's no need to say anything else. So then let's go to the trumpet. The first angel sounded, and there was hail, like ice and fire mixed with blood. And we could say fire, hail mixed with blood, in the blood and all the rest. How could blood come from heaven? No, it means that the heaven and the hail and the fire, you have it in your blood. How? The toxin in which the pharmakeia horse comes and it gives you to the problem that of the crown that it has. And they were cast upon the earth, the entire earth, and the third part of the trees were burnt up. It doesn't mean that they all get burnt up and die. How many trees get burnt and they don't die? And all green grass was burnt up. Let's go to Revelation. Let's go to the plague. Yeah, to the plagues. Revelation 16, 1 through 2. And I heard a great voice from the temple saying to the seven angels, "Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth." And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. It has to do with the toxin, with the pharmakeia. It has to do with what they have mixed in their blood. And the ulcer is not an ulcer, but a plague, malignant and grievous. And as in English, this is an evil poisoning wound. As a wicked or malicious poisoning wound. Who did the wound? The one that has the bow, of course. The one that has the bow that went out to conquer. But this says that it has to do with the mark of the beast. This malignant poisoning wound is had by those that had the mark of the beast. Okay. Everything that I'm about to say now is completely speculative. So this for me is not speculation what I just said. That is clear. But speculation is this. The mark of the beast, we have yet to see it in action. The people don't even know that they were marked, okay? All the people that have the mark had something malignant, we agree with, right? In fact, I would say most didn't get something malignant. One here and there got something malignant, and this happened here and there, and some suddenly the malignant thing took them elsewhere. But the greatest majority have that toxin, and it didn't produce any effect. We do agree, right? You have to agree with me, right? Because or else this world would already be convulsionating, and it's not. So then, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say with this is that it could be, pay attention, the 1290 of abomination in the temple don't mean that within that time of 1290 of abomination, for the people would go and they were to receive the effect of the abomination. No, it doesn't mean that. None whatsoever. It means it is the lapses of where the abomination would be executed. We do agree, right? From the time in which the abomination begins until supposedly it ends. It doesn't say up until when, until supposedly it ends or something happens. There are 1290 days. Okay? Very well. So then its effect has to come afterwards, not within those 1290, because if it's 1290 days, with the effect always in between, the abomination would have already stopped. Do you understand what I'm saying? The effects are very, very few to stop this, because it didn't stop in those 1290. Let's see if I can understand this. If every dose would have been a lethal dose, it would not last 1290 days. It would last 1290 hours at most, because every time that receives, it dies. Who's going to continue to want to receive it? Do you understand what I'm saying? So then the time of the 1290 is so that supposedly they would give it to all those that wanted it, but for the people not to be dying. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? Of course, to mark them, but not so that the effect would come. The little effect is because they overdid it with certain people, but in the great majority, there's okay. So then, we have the other period that has already ended, and it has already stopped being a demand. Interesting. The 1335 could be of peace. Look, what if it was written this way, the text? For 1290 days will the abomination that maketh desolate be applied in the temple. One dose after another. But whoever waited and cometh to 1335 will see the real effects of the abomination that was applied for 1290 days. That'd be great. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then, clearly, this text would be this way. So then it says, and the first angel went. I'll read it in the Spanish RV 1962. And the first angel went and poured his cup on the earth, and a malignant plague came upon the man who had the mark of the beast. Okay, notice that the mark of the beast is not the one that produces the ulcer. Do we agree? In other words, I'll read the text again, and then I'll repeat what it just said. The first angel went, and he poured out his cup upon the earth, and a malignant plague and grievous plague came upon the men who had the mark of the beast. What produces that grievous, malignant, and pernicious plague? What produces it? No. I'll read it again until you tell me the answer. I'll read it in another text. I'll read it in the Nacre Colonga. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. What produces actually this grievous ulcer? Good, Minta, the one that poured out the cup. The one that poured out the cup. It's not actually produced by the mark of the beast. The one that poured out the cup produces, if the angel doesn't come to pour out, no matter how many marks they have, nothing happens. So then those that have the mark were okay, they were okay, marked and everything, but they were okay, everything fine. And then someone comes in the vision, so that you see this in the vision, right? In the symbological vision, they were fine, just like in the days of Noah, marrying and getting engaged. One or two would fall here and there, but they were all marked. Those that were marked are fine, until the angel came. It was not an angel, but it's something else. The angel came, and he poured out his cup, and those that had that mark, they were fucked. But they weren't fucked until the angel poured out the cup. So they were living happily with their mark. If the angel didn't come to pour anything, they were living with their mark. There was no problem. But when he poured out that cup, it has an effect only in those that have the mark. In other words, I want you to understand this. This is very clear. The mark would be imposed for 1290 days. That doesn't mean that the damage would be given during those 1290 days, but rather that it would be executed in time afterwards, when the time of the mark ended. Because if it's 1290 days, it's, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding this or not, but I understand that it says there's a time to be marked 1290 days. There's a time for that. When that time of marking ends, sometime afterwards, the date 1335 comes, afterwards shall the angel come and pour out something. That something activates what those that have the mark have that didn't do anything until it's activated. They have it. They have it. But it needs to be activated in order for the supposed ulcer to come. Do you understand what I'm saying? Up until now, it's not been activated. Those that have died suddenness are very few. It's as if what was activated, I don't know, because they had something in their organism that activated it, but it's not the massive activation. It's as if you were to fabricate. No, I'm going to take that away. Let's say as if you were to fabricate things that go poof, right? For New Year's, for New Year's, if you want to go poof in New Year's. For the 4th of July, exactly, for the 4th of July, because we're very patriotic into everyone, and you give a timer to everyone. A timer is it has an activation clock, has a timer where it's gonna go poof, right? So then you fabricate, another guy comes and he puts the mark, which is the timer, to every one of those fireworks. Yeah, fireworks. They're fabricated and they put the timer on there. In other words, the activation time. Everywhere, there's always happened that because of mistake here and there, some get activated before and they go poof all of a sudden. Sometimes they blow up alone. It's always happened that it blew up on its own with something, humidity, whatever, the climate, poof, it exploded. That's what's happening now. But when the time get here of activation, that is when the angel in the vision, symbolic vision, casts the cup, so then all the alarms go off. That has to happen, because up until now, not a fuck's sake has happened. I'm not satisfied with a death here, death there. Those are counted. No, everyone that has the mark has to have ulcers, whatever they are. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no person without a mark that does not have the ulcer. I'll read the text again and you'll understand it even more. Let's go to the 1260 version. I heard a great voice that said, come from the temple to some temple. It says, go and pour out upon the earth the 7 cups of the wrath of God. Whoa. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sorrow upon the man which had. They already had the mark. You see, he had the mark. The mark and the activation are two things that are completely independent. When the angel casts down the cup, which is a symbol, what they already had is activated, which they didn't even notice that was the mark. So then, could it be that the 1335 days, as in the days of Noah, because it coincides precisely with the days of Noah, 1335 coincides with 217. When it was activated, what was activated? The waters, which were to kill the entire world. When were they activated? They were already designed before. Yes, of course, because it says that Yahweh opened the gates of courts. I know this is way interesting, but someone's coming there. The people were marked? Yes, of course they were marked. Of course they were marked. Who were those that weren't marked? Those that had a ticket. Those were not marked. When was that decided? From way before. From way before was that decided. The command of Yahweh was Noah, his bride, Noah, his bride, his 3 children, and the 3 women of his children. There's 3 people, 8 people. They taught you in the Christian church that Noah was preaching the whole time, preacher of justice, Hebrews says, that preached, another stupid shit, that preached so that they would enter into the ark. I'm telling you, there was no place for anyone. If Noah's cousin would come, he would have to tell him, you can't enter here, you can't. I'm sorry. But Yahweh gave me 8 tickets. Why? Because Yahweh told him, you and your wife enter, your children, and the 3 women of your children, no one else. So then, the rest were how? Marked. Were they marked or not? They were marked. Did he know that they were marked? Pay attention. Pay attention because it's very important. The parallelism, were they marked or not? The whole world was marked. Did they know it? No, they didn't. Those that are marked, they don't know that they're marked. One here and there wish they weren't marked, but one here and there, most of them very happy that they were marked. Proud. And they're asking for another booster, maybe, if it's not working anymore. So then, they didn't know that they were marked. And those that don't want what they placed in their body, they don't even see it as a mark. And even less like the mark of the beast. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, very well. So then, if something comes all of a sudden upon them, will it be suddenly? Absolutely. Will they be waiting for it? No. Yahweh says, as in the times of Noah, they were getting married in feasts, building, and they did not notice, nor did they know, until the very day in which Noah entered into the ark and the waters of the flood came, and he took them all that are marked. So then, but not quickly. It's not that the very same day they all left. No. It says that it rained for 40 days. So then there was a struggle for life. Okay, very well. But they all ended up being wet. From the very first day, they all got wet that were marked. They had to fight for their lives until their life was reduced. So Yahweh says, as in the days of Noah, do you remember? So shall it also be the coming of the Son of Man. Oh, the coming of the Son of Man? Yes. They'll be doing their daily chores. They're not going to know anything. The flood will come and take them. Now, first, the mark has to come. The mark is coming. That's it. Now, we need the activation thereof. That is why it'll be seals, trumpets, plagues. Seals, in some aspect, the seal shows you the mark. When the white horse comes out and with his toxin shoots and it goes forth to conquering and to conquer, it did not conquer me, not you either, but most did get conquered. Why? Because it has a crown. Precisely, it puts us in the time of the crown when this pharmakeia comes out. And then it says, but in the blood, did you know that they have like ice and fire in their blood? Oh wow, the blood. But nothing happens. Nothing has happened yet. Until when? Until the plague comes. Seal, the mark. Trumpet shows you what is in the blood. The plague, the activation thereof. And when the activation thereof comes, it says, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. They already had it. The angel didn't mark anyone, the mark was there already. But the activation thereof comes. The activation, those that had the mark of the beast, and they would worship its image. All these sons of bitches that go and lick the hand. You're waiting for me to say something else. They go and lick. I'm looking at your faces. They go and lick the hand of pharmakeia. Upon those is where the plague comes. Upon those is that the plague comes, malignant and grievous. And it is rather impressive. And today, what I'm teaching today, which we see every Shabbat, doesn't matter because this was the most important thing. We haven't entered into the second one. Most important one because this part has not been fulfilled yet. And of course, it had to be a great period of time if you think about it. In fact, the first one had to be the longest of them all because it was the time of, come on kids, who wants to get marked? And most of them say, no, me. I want it. Ho, I. So then all the me's come, they come to get marked. And some that really I don't want it, but I'm going to lose my job. Well, it's the last thing that I want. Well, go ahead and mark me. Those, it can't be in 1 week. It can't be in 1 month. We're talking about the entire world. We're not talking about a city. So then they had to spread out the mark in the whole world. We need time for that. 13, 12, 90 days to fabricate it. These sons of bitches already had it fabricated. To fabricate it, to spread, and for it to go into the human masses. That's why the first one had to be long, because it was a time of marking. And to mark, if you have cattle of 10 cows, we'll do it all together quickly. If we have to have 2 million cows now, say, hold on, I can mark you, I don't know, 100 animals a day, who knows, depending on what mark you have, right? If it's by fire or whatever, give me so much time. And so Yahweh gave them 90 days to get marked. That's already been fulfilled. But precisely after the time of marking, another date comes, 1335. And now it makes sense that the marking ends and nothing happens. They're like, nothing happened. No, nothing happens, no. 1335 could be the date in which it starts to get activated, and those that have the mark will dance. That would be the most logical. Could it be fulfilled? Of course. I see it very probable, very interesting. 217. Precisely, but I mean, we cannot make something like, you can't make this up, that the 1290, from the time of the sons of bitches that started with his lies, of 1290, precisely for it to end in 217, when those that are marked from that time were wet. So then the mark of this time is when the water starts to fall on them, and that will put them to rest, so as to not use another word. Does it make sense what I'm teaching? Of course it does. Thank you very much. That's why you're here, to listen to logic, or else I would say listen to any dog shit, or even a roe that talks about the last stretch for him to circumcise you. We could listen to that very well. It's been 2 hours and we're very much okay. We're on the second seal. That's why I have a lot of hope in these days. I'm very anxious in these 10 days. Anything could happen, and thanks to whatever happens, it could be the second seal that could start. And what is the second seal? I've already explained it. In other words, I've explained it. Of what has not been opened, that we could see, it means war, it means death, it means insanity. What's it say? When he opened the second seal, I saw the second being that said, come. And then another horse came, a red one. And that one that was on it, it was given power to take peace away from the earth. That's very important. The most important thing. It was given power to take peace from the earth. Do you know what would happen if in 1335 they would start to drop like flies? Would the peace be taken away from the earth or not? The thing is that it's not that they drop dead, but for them to get wet. Symbolically speaking, for everything to start to hurt, that they start to get visible ulcers. Where are they going to go? Because marks they're going to have it. Yeah, somebody, and you, why don't you have or feel what I have? It's a visible mark. I don't know. It'd be great. Like a tattoo, a weird one. And my sister, they told them that when she got her mark, the first thing she did was her legs got blue veins like she's never seen. That was the first reaction she got. So then Yeah, like bruises. She said the veins. Oh, and bruises. Yes, that's true. It said bruises, and that's why she ended up that way. She had bruises. So then, if a visible mark were to come, and those of us that don't get anything, which would be great, they'd say, "And you, why didn't you get anything?" I didn't get it. They would notice quickly what was it that produced that, because there's no way of hiding it. If they all get wet, they're all visible. Those that are marked, not dead, because if they died, it's no good. That will not pitch or bat or catch. You require people that are alive and with pain, because what's it say? I'll read it again so that it is recorded. We're trying to understand this, okay? We're trying to understand this. It says, and the first one came, and he poured out his cup upon the earth, and a grievous and poisonous wound came upon men that had the mark of the beast, and that worshipped its image. Did it say that it died? No. It says that they got an ulcer. A grievous poisoning wound, and in some place it says painful, depending on how you want to translate it. Excuse me? No, not yet. We haven't gotten to that. No. But that mark, it doesn't say that they die, but that they get a mark. It's in the form of an ulcer. If that were to take place, two groups will be those that they get that and those that don't get that. It is clear, right? And that would be, wow. And if that were to happen, the only thing is that what's going to happen is that the peace will be taken away from the earth, because those that are marked will go against those that mark them. And this is where this will be fulfilled. And it was given power to take peace away from the earth, that they should kill one another, which is then the motive that they want to kill each other. Two motives. One, due to the anger that another person obligated them to do it. Another is because they lied to them, and another, an anger because the other guy doesn't have the mark. That generates anger. It generates anger. In a family, well, say the term family, I love the word family, and I love the whole world to use it, because family, it comes from famine. Famine is hunger. Family is a group of slaves that are starving. So then every time that I mention family, I love it, because they're a group of slaves that are starving. I come from a family. My family is in Argentina. Now I have a lineage, but not a family. It was left in Argentina. Okay, and my family is marked. They're all entirely marked. Of a marked family. Very well. So then, when in a family, three are marked and not another, they're all going to know why. They're going to say, what a son of a bitch. This guy said that he didn't. They're going to know why. Don't believe that they're going to take it. When there's pain, they don't take things easily. It doesn't say that they're going to die. It says that they're going to have a mark. That is clear, right? And if we talk about fire and ice as the trumpet marks, it's like they're going to really feel horrible. Absolutely horrible. And so then that's going to generate hate. That hate can be translated to this: the reason of why they're going to kill each other. There's the reason. And a great sword was given unto them. So then we could be in before that, and very soon, and I get very it gives me lots of excitement and hope, because I hope to see this. But when I start to study it every day, the whole week, and when we start to see different angles, I say, wow, how did I never see it before? Or else, if I've never said it before, because I've never seen it before. Because once I study it the whole time and I meditate in this, I start to see these different hues that are impressive. For example, about how the angel activates the mark of the beast. They're already marked. but the angel activates that. And this part, the reason of why they kill each other, why? Because of the mark. Evidently, due to the mark. The mark comes, the plague of the mark comes, and then the sword comes so that they kill each other. What is the hate there is? The hate is, this is the hate. It could be something else. I said that it was speculative, but it sounds very, very within what's correct. We could add wars, of course, and all the rest. The trumpet. The second angel sounded, and like a great mountain that we've already studied, that great mountain is Babylon, burning with fire, it was cast into the sea. It was cast into the people. So because of the people, it's all a revolution that's coming because of the mark. Because if there's something that could infuriate people, you can even touch their ass and nothing happens. They did it to us our whole entire life, and we don't do anything. And they put taxes upon us. We don't say anything, and they give us more laws, and we don't say anything. But as soon as they inject us with something, and we see a terrible effect, and we know what it is, and everyone knows what it is, and the neighbors see it, and my mom and everything, then the people are going to grab what they have, and they go against the doctors, against the pastors. Why the pastors? Because they said you have to use this. Because if Jesus is life, this is also life. They're going to go against the organizations. That would be spectacular. Every health place or sickness, every one of these places, and the people burning with anger. Mark, what did you add into me? Because if one dies here, one dies there, nothing happens. You hear this? No, that it's not because of that. It was something else. He was exercising too much. He overdid it. No, it was close to an antenna, and the antenna, it was affecting him. No, because he ate something and he had an indigestion, cold, too much ibuprofen. Lots of sex. I heard lots of sex brings even heart attacks and suddenness. So then all those types of things, people, they eat it up because they're such idiots. They eat it up when they're all marked. I mean, all of them, all that have the mark of the beast, when they have the ulcer, whatever it might be, then this will start to get good, because then they can say because of sex, because of cold, because he was exercising, he was running too much. We can't blame anything. The whole world at the same time is marked, not marked. The whole world at the same time, they got the ulcer, whatever the ulcer might be. So then they're burning with anger. They'll go to the places where they were marked, to the places where they were indoctrinated, to the newscasters, to the politicians. So then this will be fulfilled. And its writer was given power to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. It's not one country against another. Apparently, it's people that know each other, that they will kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. That great sword means the motive. The motive, the sword, the weapon is the motive. The people don't have a motive right now to go against the places of health. No. Of the white robe, no, they're gods. They're still gods. When are they going to stop being gods? When they see that what they was given into them, it was really what they heard, and they didn't believe, and they have it in their body, or they feel it in their body. That's when they'll say, no, this is and this guy has it, this other guy has it, and it's over. So then, there will they no longer have immunity. Will pharmakeia have? So then, that great sword is the motive of why they kill one another. There has to be a motive to kill one another, and it says that they would all kill one another. It's not that in a little country or in your ghetto. No, in the whole world. In the whole world. It says as follows. I'll read it again because it has a lot of details. And the one that rode thereon was given power to take peace from the earth. Where does he take the earth away? Where does he take the peace away? From a nation, a town, where? From the entire earth. And the entire earth was marked. So then, because when there's war, there's peace elsewhere, right? the whole Middle East is at war, but we're at peace. Completely. So then there's not a worldwide war that in some place of the earth there's peace. There is no peace. No, not even the first war, not the second war. That would be limited to Europe, but those in America, so all those guys are idiots, are always killing each other. In fact, America, it's kind of like it grew up thanks to that because they need it. It grew even more. We didn't go into the war. We're talking about Latin America. We didn't get ourselves involved with the war, and it was better for us a bit later because they needed resources that were all dog shit, bombarded. We want wheat, we want this and that. Of course, it was convenient. Here it says that the peace is taken away at a worldwide level from your street, or else this would not make sense. Or else we have to throw everything out. Why does it say in the one writing thereon was conceded to take away from the entire earth, not a little country, not a continent, from the entire world? Why? Because the entire world was marked. The entire world, but I mean, it all is so chronologically perfect. They could not take away from the entire earth if in one place or another said, no, we don't want the mark. We don't want it, none whatsoever. It's not convenient. We don't believe in that. No, it can't. This can't happen. It says from the entire world, peace is taken away. If from the entire world peace is taken away, then first you have to mark for 90 days the whole earth. The whole earth you had to mark. And since you had to mark the whole earth in the most opportune time, the whole peace would be taken away from the earth. It's not that the U.S. of A would war with China. It's not that. The U.S. enters into war with the U.S. in your ghetto, in your family, in your block, in the most lost town. They'll be fighting there. Why? Because the one that received the mark didn't receive it. The one that received the mark will not feel so great. He's not going to die. He's not going to feel so great. If they all die, then nothing happens. Then the festivity would be over. Do you understand what I'm saying? If they die in the first plague, when this is activated, the mark of the beast, there's no need for any other. That's it. It's over. No. Those that have the mark of the beast have to be alive until they get to the end. You understand what I'm saying, right? We agree. Or else how are they going to suffer? Or else they're not going to suffer. Those that left, escaped. No, they don't have to leave. It says that they don't die in the first one. It says that they're going to jump with pain. That is what we're looking for. Not what I'm looking for, okay? I didn't mark them, okay? I told you, don't get marked. It's not convenient. This is a lie. But of course, those that got marked have to pass through this. And this is the motive of what a sword means. So then later we have the fall. With this is how Babylon falls. It's kind of like where the dominoes, when the first one falls, undoubtedly the second and the third will fight in a dominoes effect. Bop, 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 bop. So then of course the mark was already there, ready. It's activated. They all get generally upset. The whole peace is taken away from the earth, and the peace from the earth is taken away. And since the peace is taken away from the earth, what falls? Babylon falls. A great mountain burning, because nobody will go and defend the government. They're the ones that practically obligated you. So then the system falls. The system burns up. It goes up in flames. Why? Because the inhabitants start to suffer the pain that due to them they added. So then the system is inflamed. The great mountain burning with fire is cast upon the sea. And the third part of the sea turned to blood, and the third part of the living beings in the sea died. In the third part of the sea, ships were destroyed. We could apply many more things there, but let's advance. Let's go to the plagues. And the second angel poured out his cup upon the sea, and this became with blood as of a dead man, and all living beings died that were in the sea. Spectacular. Every living being that was in the sea died. This is absolutely clear that they're not going to die right there and then. But those that are marked, same thing as always. Those that are marked, their blood is as the blood of a dead man, but they're alive still. But undoubtedly so will he die, and this causes them to kill one another. Very well, and let us go to, and this is if we take the anger within nations, because it's all has to be an insanity. Third seal. Third seal, trumpet plague. And this is the text. We got the text of the invitation. Oh, that's great. Angelina, when did you do this for us? For what anniversary? Oh, it was Christmas, not anniversary. It was kind of late. It was not for the anniversary. It wasn't. I thought it was an anniversary. It was precisely an anniversary. It was so late. Right, but the idea was for Christmas. The idea was for Christmas because we needed one part of it. Okay, good. Very good. It's so heated. I'm already sweating. I have to take my shoes off. I'm already sweating. And now it's time for me to leave you right away because I've given you enough. And this was not the important part. What's important is the other thing for me to tell you. What's important is for me to stop being mental poverty in every aspect. Good. The third trumpet and seal. I have to present this because otherwise my wife will demand from me whether or not I give this subject. Revelation 6, 5 through 6, Jerusalem 2005. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third being saying, "Come and see." And then there was a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Okay, let's start with this. Okay, it could be 1 liter of barley or a pound of barley. Okay, barley is the king of the cereals. Wheat is you can live with wheat and barley. There's a lot of things that you can do with barley that you can't do with wheat, like beer, for example. Minto's like, yes, of course. So then there's so many things that the barley's for many things. But either way, wheat is the king and barley is a subject of the king. Okay, very well. So then what is a penny? A penny, the whole world knows this, but a lot of people that are new haven't received this. A penny is no good for us to think that a penny is nothing. But a penny was a day's work salary, the standard, not minimum wage, it's not what I'm trying to say, but the standard salary of a workman that you could contract. Generally, people would work on their own, but the people that could not have their own business, in other words, if they would not have enough a profession or field or animals, or to be a carpenter or whatever, if you had to work for someone else, then they would pay you what was fair per day, 1 penny. So the 1 day's work salary, I'm not saying if it was minimum or anything, I'm saying what a man would make in 1 day. And not even minimum, just the salary of a man would say, or whatever a man would make, let's translate it to 1 penny. We could say the work of 1 day. So then look at what this guy says. And I heard in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of or liter. What did I say? Or a pound. And a pound are like half a kilo, give or take, half a kilo of wheat for 1 day's worth. Come and work for me, and I'm gonna pay half a kilo of wheat, 1 pound, and that's what I'm gonna pay you for the day of work. And another guy says, if you're gonna work for me, I want to pay 3 pounds of barley and of wheat, but I'll pay with barley, 3 measures of barley. Of course, if you want wheat, then go work with that guy. If you want barley, I'll give you 1.5 kilos of barley a day. It's all symbolic, okay? Nobody's going to say that. I want you to understand. What it means is that in the first plane of interpretation, because we're in a complete speculation here, I want to explain this 1,000 times over, I'll say it, so that later you don't say, Christian said this. No, we haven't entered into the second seal. How are we going to know the second and the third? We do agree, right? We're in the first one, and we're barely discovering the first one because there's new information there. That, of course, it has not affected them because they have yet for the first plague to enter into action. So we're barely understanding the first one, how we're going to go into the third one. That's what I'm saying. This is speculation. Remember it here. What Christian's going to say now is speculation. What it means is that we're going to try to understand something even if it's completely wrong. Very well. The first base of interpretation means that in that time, the food that was the best ones, like wheat, that time wheat was the best thing. The best thing. It's still the king of the cereals. And the symbolism, the best thing, it'll be very expensive. The inferior, you're going to get a little bit more of. And what follows? What follows? And 1 liter of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. But thou hurt not the oil and the wine. What does that have anything to do? It's kind of like, it's completely out of context. I mean, this is all symbolic words. I'm going to start with the first symbolism. The one that rode there on had in his hand a scale. What did he have in his hand? A scale. And a scale is the seal of a judgment or justice. Justice or judgment. In other words, judgment, clearly the world will be living a judgment. Because those that are marked will see that the mark was not for free. They received it for free, but it was not for free. They're going to have to pay for it. Very painfully so. And then the other guy, the first thing he has in his hand is a pair of balances. And with the balance, it means judgment or justice, which is very similar. Because in a judgment, you do a judgment to obtain justice. But of course. So then, the first thing that we have to see is that the judgment will come and justice will be upon the earth. With what? With those that are marked and the non-marked. That is clear. The final judgment started, per se, the final judgment, which has already started from before, but now we can clearly see that there's a judgment and that justice will be applied. That's why he's got the balances in his hand, okay? That's why he's got the balances in his hand. Obviously, you can think that with the balances you can wait. No, it has nothing to do with that. The balances in his hand has nothing to do with what another one yells that says 1 measure of wheat for a penny. It has nothing to do with what the balances hand. The horse shows, I'm going to read it to you. The horse shows an image. You hear a voice that says something, and it also says something else. When he opened the third seal, I heard a third living being saying, Come and see, and I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. That is the seal. He sees a black horse, and black represents many things. If red represents blood, then white represents pharmakeia, that will mark. Red means blood and death. Black also represents death. And I had to add death and hunger. Everything that's black. And I heard in a negative aspect. And I heard like a voice. In other words, a black horse appears, and the one that had in his hand balances, so that when it shows up, the third plague appears. The third seal, the third seal, it means judgment in the entire world. The first seal was a mark. The second seal was war. War at a level of your street in the whole world. The sword is given unto them, and the third one is judgment. Whose judgment? Judgment is to all the nations, those that are living there, living the judgment. That's what it represents, judgment. The justice that is required in the world. It reminds me of a Megadeth song that's called Poison Was the Cure. The poison was the cure. Has nothing to do with the lyrics. I'm not telling you because it has nothing to do with poison was the cure. How pretty is that? Poison was the cure. Poison was the cure. What was the cure of this world? Poison. Of the toxin, of the pharmakeia. That's great. How do we cure this world? Through the poison. The poison was the cure. Poison was the cure. Some would say, does he have to be so? But I mean, so. I mean, how do you say when you say that? No, aside from that. Yeah, cynical. He has to be so cynical. Yes, how pretty. What was the cure of the earth? The poison was the cure. The poison was the cure. And that's really the way it is. That's the way it is. You have to mark them. You have to place something in them, and you have to activate that in order for it to be the cure. Just like that, the cure. I was going to tell you about something in the rats in my house, but no, I won't tell you. The poison was the cure. Just like that, the poison was the cure. If you want to cure something because it has an infection with something, and they're rats and they have to place them to sleep, the poison was the cure. The poison was the cure. So then don't complain about the poison. I'm not complaining. Before I used to complain, but of course, that had been past the 1290. Now we're waiting for 1335. Blessed and happy is he that get to 1335 to 217, where the people will start to get wet. Wow. If that is fulfilled, I'm not going to speak to you anymore, okay? That'd be great. Right there, I will stop telling to you now. If in 10 days we see that the people start to have a reaction, an allergic reaction per se, an allergic reaction, well, I'm not going to speak to you anymore. I'll say, no, that's it. It's over. That's it. It's over. Just like that, that would be 100% an extreme goal from one area to another area. From one goalie to the other. One goalie keeper from a goalie's goal. If I get that one right there, pardon me. Let's see if you like the study. How many of you like the study? How many likes do we have? How many likes do we have if you like the study? I said in tides we're going to have, 400,000 thumbs down. There was only one down that was a little ago. Everyone else liked it. That's great. That's great. There's 291 likes, and there's 306 watching. Change your account, but there has to be more accounts, people watching. Why? Because we are like that. We're bad like that. And then comment. If you like it, comment. If we're here, it's precisely this gathering. It's a literal gathering of gods. The ones that are here and they understand what I say is a god. Just like that. He's a god. I'll repeat this again. If you are here and you don't understand what I'm saying and you think that I am a clown or a charlatan, you're not a god. You're a son of a bitch. How pretty. Just like that. I'm very sympathetic. If you're here to put the thumbs down, you're really son of a bitch. If you're here because you like what I speak and you understand what I say, you're a god. There's nothing less than a God. You are a God. Just like that, a God. And this is a gathering of gods. Always we have one here and idiot here and there because they believe in the ball marked. If there's somebody that's marked listening to me here, they start to get angry. They start to feel the second seal. Yes, because you see, you want to see what the second seal will be. Speak to them. Did I say marked, right? I said marked. Speak to anybody that's marked against this. Tell them that because they have that, they're going to have this and that. You're going to see the hate of the second seal be born in the people. Just like that, in a small measure. And continue to fuck with them that they are marked. And tell them that they have the mark of the beast. See how they'll take it. They're going to see the wrath of the second seal in a small measure because they haven't seen it yet. But tell them that when something were to happen, and tell them, see that what you have is the mark of the beast. But then run out. Then run out completely. How many likes do we have? 325 likes. Okay, you are real gods. You cause it to be more likes than people watching. That is a gathering of likes I've never seen in any other place, in no other stream, that they have thousands of people watching, that there's more likes than people watching. Unless they all left and the likes were there, but we have more likes now because the whole people, we have more likes than people watching. Why? Because we're gods. We do things that are incredible. Very well. Thank you for the likes. Remember to comment later. Many people don't comment because they're embarrassed. Comment. Absolutely. Look, maybe you have 10 days to comment. If I get this one, if I hit the mark on this one, I'm telling you now, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. It's not my illusion because then later you're going to start to have pain. Nothing's going to happen. I'll grab the figures of silver of the King Charles III. The golden or silver, golden, and I swear by the name of Charles III that if I were to hit this one, and on 217, precisely in 1335, you start to see news that something is happening in the people, like a weird allergy. The next Shabbat, you don't want to know how my head will be, how big my head will be. I mean, it'll be, for me, I mean, forget it. If you think that I'm too proud, this has not been fulfilled. And I'll swear that by the honor of Charles III. Or by the balls, because I have two. I swear by, I give testimony. I don't know if he had, because who knows. I give testimony by Charles III, and I swear by King Charles III that if this is fulfilled next Shabbat, I'm going to be, I mean, like Maradona, back in his glorious time of his most prideful, he's going to be nothing next to me. Okay. It was 7-1. Okay, no. Oh no, you're talking about the slaughter that just happened. Oh, poor thing. You have to remind them of that. Italy, poor guys. They beat them 3-2, right? Or 4-3. Wait, no, 4-3 or 3-2? 4-3 or 3-2? How was it, Italy? They were 3-0. But Brazil got 2 goals and they almost drew. They were playing well, but then Italy didn't play so well later. You have to watch something. But Brazil plays well. Okay, careful. They play very well. Okay, going back to our thing here. Okay, so then balances means the first horse, white horse, pharmakeia, a mark. Second horse, because of the pharmakeia, the mark is activated. It becomes a poisonous wound, whatever it might be, a grievous, noisome wound, and maybe even that it stinks, who knows? And that is the motive of the sword, for the peace to be taken away from the earth. Third one, judgment, justice. So then it says, right now, we could see it as if there's going to be, we could see it as before. That's also valid. Second Civil War, World War, that would make no sense now, just within these countries, but not in the rest, that nothing happens in war, and then after war comes the economical part, that there's going to be great hunger. I'm telling you the truth. When we talk about great hunger, tell you the truth, I've gone through great hunger myself. In Africa, people die of hunger. They starve to death. In Latin America, sometimes there's people that don't have any money to eat. In Argentina, there was times where I didn't have anything to eat. And I believe that in Mexico and below, not everywhere, because there's a lot of abundance in Mexico and all the rest, but many families that are slaves starving to death. Many families, there's been times when they starve to death. It'd be fine for us, we'd lose some weight, but hunger doesn't scare us more than Holodomor, what our brethren from Russia produced to Ukraine, that killed millions of people of hunger. More than that, it doesn't scare the whole world. And to kill millions of people, you have to see it takes so much time, and I believe they're not willing to go into that. So it's fine if we apply it that way, but I think it's something else. What is it? Justice? Judgment? Here it is. Remember, I said that it was what? It was complete speculative. Okay, judgment, third seal, judgment. And then I heard a voice that says, 1 measure of wheat for a penny. In other words, the best thing there is costs 1 day's worth. In other words, it's very scarce for a day's worth for them to give you a pound of wheat. What does wheat represent? The most valuable thing. What does wheat represent right now? I tell you, speculative speaking, 144,000. So then what is wheat? It means the best. The 2 witnesses, the 144,000, even the prophets and the saints that are dead, just like that. That is wheat. We are not the wheat. If we were the wheat, then we are not the bride, because we're here. I'll explain that now in the symbols. So then already, leaving aside, which it could also be some application of war and hunger and scarcity perfectly well, but let's go to one that's even deeper. Wheat represents the best of the humanity. The best of the humanity are the 2 witnesses, which are the prophets of Elohim, the saints of Elohim, and the 144,000. If it's the same group, either way, same way, it doesn't matter. The best, the wheat. That's what the wheat is. The best of humanity. Aside from that, got the sons of Elohim. That's something else, but this is the best of humanity without being the sons of Elohim. Okay, the best. 144,000, the 2 witnesses, would include there the prophets and the saints of old. It doesn't matter. Wheat. Very well. Then it says what? There are 3 more times than wheat, because they give 3 pounds for a day's work. So there's more abundance of that material, 3 times more. Do you understand? Of what? Of barley. What does barley represent? Barley for me, in this point in time, in this prophecy, it represents the 3rd. That's why it talks about 3. It's playing with it. 3 pounds for 1 penny's worth. So it represents the 3rd that'll be saved. The 3rd that are not marked. In other words, the wheat and the barley are not marked. The rest are marked. But the wheat is a lot more precious. Less quantities than barley. So then barley represents the non-marked. Those that don't have the mark of the beast. It's something inferior to wheat, but it's a good product. And a product that is represented here, like they have a value that's greater for a penny's worth. So then I'll repeat this again. The wheat, the best of humanity, the 144,000, 2 witnesses, if it's the same thing, prophets, saints, and whatever. Barley, there's more quantity. It is the 3rd of humanity that will be saved, in which will live in the millennium. Which will be saved, they're all going to be saved, will live in the millennium, okay? That's why now we have judgment. The first thing is a balance. Judgment. What is judgment? I'm going to separate. This is not written. I'm telling to you. That's why here goes the different one. The first third is judgment. He says, I come to judge. I come to separate. You see how the symbol of justice is a guy or a girl that has a blindfold and has balances. Okay, judgment upon what? Upon the earth. We're going to divide the wheat on one side. The barley has different value, and the rest is marked. Do you understand? It has a lot of logic. Look, when I explain it to you in next Shabbat, since I'm about to wrap this up, you're going to understand it. So then, judgment. What is the judgment? It is justice. In order to exercise justice, I have to divide wheat, which is the most precious and the least. For this, that's why it's 1 penny for 1 pound. For this, you have the 144,000 to witnesses, and I could enter people that were saints, prophets. There it is. There's a greater quantity, a third, three for a penny. Who are those? Those that don't understand shit about anything but are not marked. And they are within everything. They go past the judgment to live in the millennium. That is what the wheat. And there's more. I'll continue to read. But hurt not, he tells the angel, it's all symbolism, hurt not the oil and the wine. Of course, if you notice, it has nothing to do, apparently so, but it does have a lot to do. Notice that oil and wine are not valued by a penny's worth. It has no value. They say, 1 pound of wheat for 1 penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and the wheat and the oil and the wine, which are not essential, especially wine. Could you live without wine? I lived my whole life without wine. So then, oil's a little more essential, but wine, and not even essential, because we could live without oil. We could replace it for something else. It's referring to oil, olive oil, but they have no value for 1 penny. They're not on sale, and they're not in the judgment. You understand? It's 3 symbols here. We've got wheat, barley, wine, and oil. Wheat and barley have a price. Apparently, you could buy them. You can buy them. But these two, they have the command of not hurt. Do not hurt. This is great. Why? Because when you start to see it, you're going to say, okay, the wheat is worth this much, but it could be hurt. Yes or no? The barley is worth this, but it could be hurt. Yes or no? And I tell it to you now, they will be hurt. The only thing not hurt. Both the wheat and barley are hurt, or else they'd be protected, but they're not. There are only 2 groups that are protected, which actually is one. It's oil and wine. What does the oil and wine represent? 2 things. Wine would be the best because it is the blood that is alive. Why do we take the wine that represents the blood of Yeshua? For it to give us life. So then the wine represents whom? The sons of Elohim. And what does the oil represent? The chosen, the same thing. The wine and the oil represent the chosen. Those receive not hurt. The rest do. The wheat does. Barley does. And the wine and the oil are not for sale. They cannot be obtained by working. They're already done work. The wine and oil do not receive hurt. The barley, you can obtain it for 3 pounds for a day's worth. The wheat, 1 pound for a day's worth. It costs a lot more, but you have wheat to consume. The oil is not for sale. Wine is not for sale, and it doesn't represent things that you eat, but it represents groups of people. The barley, the third that'll be saved in the millennium. They're not protected though. The wheat, The two witnesses, but they're going to die. Pardon me, the wine and the oil represent the Mashiach. The Mashiach is the son of Elohim. It's the son of man. It's a group of people. Those are not hurt. They are not damaged, and this is absolutely spectacular. Spectacular, because that's how we start to understand. That's how we start to understand, really, the difference there is between what there is in this world. But you need a judgment. That judgment is issued by Yahweh. That judgment demonstrates what the groups are. This is wheat, this is barley, and these are the oil and the wine. And the oil and wine are not two products, it's the very same. That's why it says oil and wine. The wheat is separated and it's worth this much. The barley is worth this much and it's separated, but hurt not the oil and wheat. I mean the oil and wine. Why? Because the oil and wine, apparently it seems like it's two products, but it's a conjunction. It is those. Wine means life in the blood. In other words, they have eternal life. At some point in time, that's why they cannot be hurt. At some point in time, we've received the eternal life. In other words, I don't want to say eternal life. Everybody has eternal life. The capacity of not dying, the non-mortality, and the rest is because they are declared Mashiach. That is what the oil is, no one else. And this seal is spectacular to have been understood that way. And I'll leave it up until next Shabbat. I'll repeat this part and we'll advance with what the trumpet and the seal is. If we can advance to the fourth seal, because it is very interesting what is coming up. But the most important thing is the introduction I gave you before. The most important thing is that we have 10 days left. The most important thing is also that Henry Kissinger, our beloved grandpa, is on his 100th birthday, but I'm sure he's marked. He's waiting for. If tell the truth, is in 10 days, what I'm telling you is fulfilled, or forget it, and for him to suffer the ulcers or not. For him not to escape, for him to suffer the ulcer. So then, without any further ado, let us wrap up with a word of prayer. Beloved Yahweh, we give you thanks because it's kind of like the scripture is opened in our reading before our eyes, and we give you thanks because we can see what happens in the world, and also we can read it in scripture. And we are really waiting for something great from you. We're waiting for an activation, something great within 10 days, on 2/17, the 1335 days, for it to not just be yet another day, but a visible day that we can see your hand, and that actually we can start to rejoice that we are in the final moment of it all. In your precious name, we ask for it all, and we thank you for it. Alleluia. Semper Fi. May the Lord bless you and keep you, each and every one of you. Let the laurels be eternal that we knew how to achieve. Crowned with glory, let us live. A great big applause for the Argentum Mashiach bride of Yahweh. The bride, Argentum bride of Yahweh, is the oil and the wine that is not hurt. With that, I leave you. Alleluia. Blessings to every one of you.